Uniform Show, episode 14. This is the end of the MLB season. We've done more baseball than I thought we would get to because this is usually a show that's more about the NFL than any other sport. There was a lot that happened this season with City Connect. A lot that was bad to report on. And we did more NBA than I thought we would do as well. So this is primarily a baseball episode with some NBA and just a little NFL to get us started as we're entering the new season. We're going to start with the NBA. And it's the Suns. The Suns revealed their new uniforms for the coming 23-24 season. And this is what they have.
Surprising that they attempted to go back more to the 90s design, but doesn't quite get there and doesn't capture the full strength of it. At least is my first reaction of it. The best element you could argue is the logo on the waist there, on the shorts.
I was underwhelmed, disappointed. And when I saw these, I said, that's it? Because there's no question they're much better than what we've had for these many, many years, which we always complain about. It's been a topic on our own. It's been a topic of discussion on the Uniform Show. We've complained about the Valley. And then last season, they finally brought back the 90s, which for me is about as good NBA uniform as you can get. And then they settled for something less with this version of the Suns. And it's not even close to what you had with the classic 90s uniforms, and it really ticked me off too that they didn't wear them. The NBA didn't allow them to wear them, but they didn't wear them during the playoffs.
Right. And they've kind of combined the logo and the name together instead of having the name above the logo. And to me, it's just not enough contrast, especially with the streaks and the sun behind the white Suns.
Yeah, there is
name.
too much white.
Yeah, especially with the white jersey, just very empty, not enough contrast.
And what's with this? I'll start actually with the white home uniform, assuming that's what it's going to be. Devin Booker, t-shirt?
Yeah.
He's never, as far as I can remember, he has never been a t-shirt wearer, but for the uniform unveiling, he brings out the t-shirt. Is he changing now to a t-shirt wearer going forward? We'll see when the season starts up. I had to criticize that right away. And then something I didn't even give much thought to for both of these was the pointed more V-neck instead of the rounded neck.
Right.
That was always a poor choice. And then going over to the purple uniform, it's terrible. You actually have it on the shorts, the real Suns logo, but they couldn't get it right on the jersey.
Right. Contrast is a little better on the purple one, but still not good.
And I'm going to show you here the side-by-side. This is what you have now. This is what they could have had here, which is, for me, just about uniform, NBA uniform perfection.
This is a great comparison. And if they even just want to shrink the sun and the streaks, the basketball, a bit and all the elements a little bit to fit better, okay, but everything is organized better and pops, contrasts so much better. And you have the scoop circular neck here too, not the V-neck.
Yeah, and as I saw these uniforms, my comparison in the NFL is the Rams. That when the Rams decided to get their new uniforms, we were hoping that they would choose their traditional uniforms. Just go back to those again, because they're such great uniforms. They're winners. They're among, if they were to wear them, again, they would be among the very best in the NFL. And then they settled for a modern update that's inferior. And then because they say it's close enough, now they don't go back and wear the turn back at all. And that's what I fear with these is you went for a similar design, but it's a weaker design. And then the organization's going to say, well, it's close enough, so now there's no point of wearing the turn back anymore. For us, there's a huge difference between the two.
Yeah. And that's a great example in comparison with the Rams. I think it's very likely that will probably happen, unfortunately.
Because now it's been a couple years with the Rams and we haven't seen the uniform yet.
Right.
I mean, their traditional uniform that they've always had until, well, I'll back up. Well, when they went to the blue and yellow colored scheme, they had that for decades, as we know, until they changed to the gold in 2000. But it's been several seasons and they have not worn that turn back, and they don't see any point to it. I've heard other people mention the same thing that are with us, saying there's plenty of difference.
Yeah.
And they should wear them. I don't have my hopes up that they're going to wear them anytime soon. We just have to watch the highlights in the old games in order to see them. And sadly, that's what I see with this is one of my favorite uniforms in all of sports. And we only got it for one season, didn't get to wear it for the playoffs. And that's probably it.
Yeah.
They're going to retire them for good. But what kind of grade do you give these? Last episode, we talked about the Kings, and it was an improvement over what they had, which was a very poor uniform. I had never hated the Suns uniforms. I didn't think they were among the worst. They were just so bland and boring and dull.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'd probably give it a C.
Yeah, this is rare. I may give it actually a higher score than you. I'd give it maybe a C plus, B minus. I wouldn't go higher than that.
Mm-mm.
It's an improvement, but for me, it's a sunburn. That's how I see it. That's how I feel. I feel a little burned by the decision with the Suns, because I would give the turn back there an A.
Yeah.
Even A plus. I'd say A or A plus for the Suns turn back. We did it previously in another episode. We had it right next to each other, the Lakers and the Suns. Almost any NBA fan who has any perspective would say that the Lakers home uniform is the best uniform in the NBA.
Yeah.
I thought the Suns was better than the Lakers when we had them side by side. The yellow home Lakers versus the purple Suns was as good as it gets. Now we won't see it. But that's the NBA for now. We'll see if there are any more uniforms introduced coming up. We're getting into baseball here. A giant ad patch.
Well put. Giant in size. And we were hoping the Giants would hold off as long as possible on getting an ad patch. We were hoping that if they did at some point, it would be more small in size, simplistic, maybe black font or orange font, something more subtle like the Cardinals, like the Yankees. But no, they go with this humongous patch with an illustration on it. It does have the Giants color scheme in it, but it's just so big, and it has a car in it, and the car windshield is blue, and it really ruins things, especially as you've already pointed out in our own discussions on our own, having to move the other patches above the Giants logo on the opposite side. That now looks really tacky and cluttered.
It's the size more than anything. I mean, as you said, they have the team colors in there, but it is enormous. I mean, it is as big as any ad patch in baseball. It probably is the largest ad patch in baseball. And the Giants uniform, we're Giants fans, has become the busiest uniform of any in baseball. You have the Nike logo there, which in baseball, it bothers me more than any other sport.
Yeah.
It's just so wrong. What I want was, if there was going to be a Nike logo, it would at least be on one of the arms.
Yeah.
But with the Giants, you have this gigantic Cruise ad patch on one arm. Then they still kept, I was wondering if they were going to keep the Giants. Once we heard the announcement that it was coming, I was wondering if they were going to keep the Giants patch, because it's a big one.
Yeah.
But it's the team logo, so I'm for it and have been for it. And then they have two patches there remembering former players. So they have 5 things on the uniform: Nike, Cruise, Giants, and the 2 players, I believe Gaylord Perry and Vida Blue, that they have. What else? I mean, can you fit anything else on there? I mean, it's ridiculous how much it's on this uniform.
Yeah, I would almost take the 2 memorial patches and put them opposite of the Nike swoosh for a little more balance, but then that would make it even busier looking, ultimately.
It's really gotten out of hand, and I have to say out of hand. Gabe Kapler has the hand tattoo. And we're talking about uniforms here, but you're the manager of a team and you got hand tattoos. I can't help but complain. And you see it a lot here as Giants fans. You see all of this, and it's so cluttered and it's so busy. And when I think of tradition and good tradition and all the history of baseball, they have more junk on the uniform than the other sports.
Yeah.
I mean, they've gone and surpassed the NBA and the NFL, and how do we not actually have ad patches on the NFL yet?
Yeah. Amazing.
But here we have in baseball, and this is where we're at with the uniforms and the jersey. And we're not done with Gabe Kapler yet. We had our managers growing up. There was Dusty Baker, there's Felipe Alou, and then we had Bruce Bochy. These were classic, traditional managers, and then we have what we call the hipster manager, who was trying to be cool, Gabe Kapler, and this was on a City Connect game night, which are Tuesday nights for the Giants. And this is what he wears. This is the manager.
Yeah, he started off well, wearing the full uniform when he began his time with the Giants. And as we just saw in the last slide, he had the full uniform on for this ad patch unveiling. But since then, it's gone downhill, like so many managers. Hoodies, pullovers, and then now this sleeveless hoodie with the full out orange sleeves. Go back to the jersey, please.
It's not even the team uniform. That's the thing that gets me. It's like he's wearing some kind of vest, skin-tight vest look that he has there. I mean, this is not what the players wear. Why is he wearing it? And if anything, the manager should look even better than the players, because you expect the players to, have all these wristbands, and we're going to get into that later. Accessories that are not necessarily team colors or related to the team in any way. It's just personal preference at this point.
Yeah.
And this is the manager who represents the team, and I say, toss him. Please toss him out of the game. You can't get him off the field, get him out of the dugout as fast as you can when he's wearing this.
Yeah, for us growing up, like you said, it was either the uniform or it was the big, classy manager's jacket. And those were pretty much the only options there were, and they both looked really nice, especially because the manager's jacket usually was the same design as the jersey, just in a big jacket form.
It really is embarrassing, and we are going to eventually do the coaches and managers edition for the uniform show. It is on the way. It will be coming up, and there is a lot to cover. So I can't take any more Gabe Kapler now. Again, please toss him, eject him out of that game if he's wearing this ever again. And a big subject that we're covering, a big topic in this particular episode, is the Atlanta Braves. This was, I believe, the last City Connect that we did not review, we didn't grade it. It was the Braves.
And they chose to not have the full, accurate, turn-back retro uniform.
Which I have here as a comparison with Hank Aaron.
But instead, this partial throwback, which is inferior.
It's close, but it reminds me again, why can't they just go back all the way?
Yeah.
It's close, but once again, it's worse.
Yeah.
It's worse than you have, but we'll get back to that in a moment. We'll focus on what they have here. Go ahead.
Maybe they're trying to de-emphasize Braves and that theme by doing this, but it's still not historical, and there's just this major imbalance with the logo in the upper right and the number in the left, and then the white open spaces above and below. Just not pleasing to the eye, not a well-made design there compared to Hank Aaron.
Well, what I take more of an issue with than anything, and I know you're with me on this, it's the hat.
Yeah. We call these the circus hat type hats with the white on the front and the color on the back. And the Orioles kind of started the trend back. Other teams have copied, the Twins, the Braves in their throwbacks, and even the Nationals, who had no history wearing a hat like that, but just wanted to be more historical looking, I guess, but never a good look from our perspective. True, we didn't grow up with them, but we're glad we didn't.
Yeah, I never liked them, to be honest. I mean, when we're looking at the true turn back, not the City Connect, you see the highlight of Hank Aaron's 715th home run, breaking Babe Ruth's record, and we've all seen it hundreds of times, the highlight, and I'm always like, oh, I always have to remind myself, the Braves used to wear those.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't like the hats. There's just too much white. And with the Orioles, we call them the clown hats.
Yeah.
The clown hats. And what the Braves have today is better in every way. I mean, the Braves uniform of the 90s that we grew up with, and you expected the Braves to be right there as division winners at least every year at the top of the National League, and it looks so good doing it. I wouldn't go back to these. That's my opinion. I think this is one of those ones. I like old uniforms, I like traditional uniforms, but whether it's the classic one there, the actual turnback, or this City Connect, just leave it in the past.
Yeah.
Come up with a new design, leave it in the past. But for me, I suppose, though, even with all that said, it's not a bad City Connect. It's probably among the better ones, really.
I agree.
Because all in all, it's pretty conservative. It's just there's too much white.
Yeah.
There's too much white there, so I don't have a huge problem with it. It's just those white hats just get to me.
Yeah, and it's just annoying knowing what it could be falling short.
We start out with some Giants, but we have a lot of Braves, and we're continuing on with the Braves, and we have one certain player. Times we focus on one particular player, and it's Ronald Acuna Jr., who's having a big year, MVP candidate, but he's having a bad uniform year. Acuna is having an MVP type season, but he's having a bad uniform season.
He wore color in past years, just recently, and we thought it was a lot then, but this year it's even more, especially in that it's just all pure yellow in the gloves and the cleats to go along with the wristband and the sleeve and the armor that he has on his leg.
Yeah, the shin guard. I mean, not to mention those socks. I mean, they're the team colors.
But they're not the traditional Brave socks, that's
right.
for sure.
Solid blue socks.
And the question I keep coming up with when I see players wearing these loud custom colors is, why don't we even see more of it? If MLB allows certain players to go ahead and wear whatever colors they want, why isn't it just everybody widespread all over the place? And if that was, the sport would be even worse than it is, even more confusing than it is already. But it should all be red or blue or even white at the worst here, but definitely not yellow.
I mean, team colors. I mean, it's the gloves, it's the shoes, it's the wristband, it's the sleeve, it's the shin guard.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the deal here? If it was just like one wristband like he has on his right arm,
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it. I would certainly still complain about it, but I wouldn't make such a stink about it either. But he's got more yellow, arguably, on his uniform than he has red.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, and this is one of those things that baseball just got laxed on, and they've just completely, almost entirely let it go, because this is what was wrong with the sport. This is good for the players. It's good for the younger generation of fans. Yeah, right, I don't care. And we talked about last time with Diaz, Yandy Diaz,
Yeah.
his pink belt. That's something to be thankful for. At least Acuna doesn't have a yellow belt. Why didn't they let him have a yellow belt? I'm sure he'd go for it if it was an option. And
Right.
again, if Diaz can have a pink belt, certainly he can have a yellow one, right?
Pink belt and pink sleeve even. We remember hearing about the cleats being open to any color you want. believe that was last year.
We keep bringing it up, though, the example of Brian Wilson, who had to cover up his shoes with a Sharpie because he had too much orange, too much of a team color.
Yeah, an alternate team color. But yeah, even if he was just wearing the yellow cleats, you could say, okay, it's a little more understandable within the rules. But I sure never heard anything about MLB saying it's okay to have any accessory what color you want. This has gone way too far. I'm sure they'll never roll it back, but they should.
Why would you? You could just hope we'll see a little less of it, but usually it just keeps going into this direction. But and you can say of all the sports now, once again, here's another example, baseball's the worst. Do you see anyone in the NFL going this far?
No.
Do you see anyone in the NBA? It's just pretty much shoes that are just crazy. You got crazy shoes, but for the most part, they still wear gear if it's a wristband or the leggings. That's a whole other story. But they're usually the team colors.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the team colors in one way or another. This one, just pushed it too far. We still have more to say, though, on the Braves. And this is a complaint now we've had for years, and I am at a loss of why the Braves made this decision for their road uniform. Why the blue brims on the hats?
This has really bothered us ever since they introduced it, and of course we grew up seeing a lot of the Braves in the playoffs and being one of the most successful teams in baseball in the mid to late 90s. The red brim always complements all the red that is in the jersey, which is the primary color. And it must be to sell more hats. They changed to this blue hat. But if you're going to wear the blue hat, then wear it with the blue jersey, or just get rid of it. But there's way too much red in both home and road jerseys to switch to this blue brim. And they have the blue batting helmets to go with it, which is even worse. Unlike a team like the A's, who at least still have the yellow brim batting helmet when they're at the plate.
That's interesting you brought the A's up, because I had a thought earlier. I was thinking about Mark McGwire for some reason, and this is just completely off topic. But Mark McGwire only played with 2 teams in his career, and he got to play with the A's when they looked their best, and then he got to play with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's an amazing uniform career. Whatever you might think about Mark McGwire, he looked good in those uniforms.
Definitely.
That's I'd say 1 and 2 right there.
Yeah.
Cardinals and A's. So here's the comparison between the two.
Yeah.
Here you see John Smoltz, and then in the 90s uniform, or really until the last couple years, and then you got Strider. And whenever you saw the Braves, when we were just getting into baseball, the Braves were, outside the Yankees, they were the best team in baseball. And when you saw that Braves uniform, you respected it because it was success, it was winning. And after all, they were in a lot of World Series in the 90s. They only won 1, but the Braves were a great team. These Braves won a World Series. They look like the best team this year as far as performance on the field, but they sure don't look like the best team when they suit up in the uniform.
Right.
At home, they still look sharp. They look great. On the road, it is a whole other story.
Right. And they won the World Series wearing these in Houston. But again, it was disappointing because they should have had the red brims. And just overall, they had it right. They now have it wrong. They had something look better, and now they have something that looks worse. It's just a real disappointment.
Who can honestly look back? I'm sure you can find someone, because you'll find people with all kinds of tastes out there. But if you took 9 out of 10 people, wouldn't 9 out of 10 people tell you that this uniform here on the left that Smoltz is in with the red brim is better than the current road uniform?
That makes sense to me.
I just don't know how you could come to any better conclusion. I mean, you're just looking at it matches the Atlanta and the Tomahawk.
Yep.
Because it goes from being pretty much all red there on the front of the jersey to an all blue hat.
Yeah.
We'll probably revisit this one again, but I am scratching my head, and I'm with you. Probably the only explanation is just sell one more hat.
Yeah, and so go ahead then, put it with the blue jersey, just like the Giants originally started out with the black hat, with the black brim with the orange jersey, and then changed to the black hat, the orange brim with the orange jersey. Eventually, that made sense. The Braves should do that too.
Now on something very different. We're turning the clock ahead, though we're looking back to uniforms that were worn in the past. And I said we have to talk about this before we're done with baseball and we're all football here in our episodes. But this was the turn the clock ahead uniforms that we saw years ago. And there were some interesting ones. Some very interesting ones. You see a couple here, and just comment on whichever ones you want to. We see Larry Walker here at the Rockies with the huge logo, and you see Oral Hershiser. That's the Mets, and that is Jeff King. I love his mustache, Jeff King,
Yeah.
with the Royals on the right.
We really didn't ever see these in action. We saw pictures of them after the fact when they presently happened back in the late 90s. But some were good in our opinion and some were bad. The Rockies one we actually do like and kind of has some similarities that show up in the current City Connect uniform that they had rolled out last year with the big mountain design-wise.
I do like it.
Yeah.
I do like the Rockies. It's just a little big.
Yeah.
It can be shrunk down. I know they were going for big, and after all, it was the 90s.
Yeah.
That was the time about being big and loud, and that's why it's still hard, especially the NBA, to get used to something with all these jerseys being so plain. No logos, no visual graphics of any kind. But that is a big mountain. That is a big baseball.
Yeah.
If they just shrunk it down a little bit, bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back and make that your City Connect.
Yeah.
What about this Mets one?
That one I do not remember originally seeing, and it's pretty strange, especially the sleeves, the large silver cuffs. It's, I guess, more of a vest overall, and just the different fonts and different directional text and multiple logos and images. That's really funky, all right.
Yeah, I don't like the Mets one.
No.
They can definitely do without that one, and it's going too far into a whole nother area, the fact that there's no team color.
Yeah.
Which is always our complaint with the City Connects. No team color here. No blue, no orange. And, the Mets wearing black, that's another discussion for another time.
Yeah.
What about the Royals?
Colors are too mismatched. The super shiny helmet in gold, and then the dark blue in the logo, and then you have the light blue undershirt with the yellow vest, and it's very baggy, at least in this case. And then the pants are pretty strange with the large, almost retro football stripe, and then going into a solid blue that wraps around at the ankle, the base.
Yeah, there's just too much going on there. The gold helmet, I mean, it was somewhat of a challenge to even find good pictures for some of these. But you have the gold helmet, yellow, and then it's a vest. I mean, no vest in baseball, please. There is no situation, no jersey that I have ever liked with a vest. And yeah, I don't like it's more of the baby blue for the Royals. I don't like it. Yeah. And the fact that, you have more of this, it almost looks like a navy blue in the pants.
Yeah.
They just don't match.
Way too many different colors.
And just the fact that it's a vest, I just can't do the vest. And I'm glad there are no silver or gold helmets. I never even gave it a thought about baseball until I saw this. I'm so glad that the helmets are conservative in baseball.
Yeah.
Traditional. We complain about the mats, but no wild colors.
Yeah.
Well, other than the cities. Right. Padres, we're looking at you.
Yeah.
Here's some more for the Giants. And that gives you a picture of the front and the back, but they too had that vest-like look that it can do without.
Yeah. And they chose to keep their regular pants, is what it looks like. So it's also a strange combination.
Right, there is no orange on the jersey.
Yeah.
And then the names.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we haven't seen that in sports.
Yeah. Very hard to read. Bad design. Just to be funky, no doubt. But the jersey also almost looks like it's a little bit different shade of white than the pants at the same time. Maybe it's just because it's thinner or because they have the undershirt that's black, but...
Right. And these are going back to more than 20 years now.
Right.
If you're going to talk about uniforms, I'm very thankful we haven't gone here. These for the most part are bad.
Yeah.
The Rockies, okay, I'll give you that one. Big reason why, because, well, that's actually sort of a vest too now that I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, almost all these are vests, if not sort of like borderline vests.
Yeah. And some teams chose to have the batting helmet the same, and others chose to have an all different one in the case of the Royals.
Well, here's the one that takes the cake, and it's the Mariners here. As far as I'm concerned, not so much what they did the first time around. You see Griffey there, and it looks like they almost have it's a gray or a silver batting helmet. They have the big logo, huge numbers here. But then check out D. Gordon. I mean, this is almost like a tank top. He's wearing here. There's no shirt underneath or anything. I mean, and he's wearing a backwards hat.
Yeah, the Mariners and the Royals recreated their turn the clock ahead at night.
I missed that. When they did that, I missed that. And when I saw that picture of D. Gordon, I almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah, wow. That was definitely a night where the rules of uniforms went out the window. And it seems like their pants are similar to the Royals, that same large, thick stripe that becomes a solid at the ankle. But the Royals did not have tank tops and bare shoulders and backwards hats. So they actually were a little more conservative overall. But just not even the team colors. This is really the Arizona Diamondbacks color scheme on the Mariners uniform.
Well put and well said on that. I was just what I was going to say. What does this say to you about the Mariners? Does this look like the Mariners in any way? Doesn't.
Just the logo alone on the jersey. That's about it.
And Griffey, it's hard watching Griffey in that.
Yeah, we didn't know, and There was no internet back when this happened, so
And then,
we didn't know.
and then getting back to D. Gordon, he's wearing this necklace or chain or whatever it is. And you got that flying around. He's got his hat backwards. He's got no undershirt underneath. And then the bottom of the pants.
Yeah.
Ugh. Terrible.
And too baggy looking, too, compared to Griffey's.
Okay, we're going in a completely different area now, which is something I wasn't even aware even existed in baseball until I stumbled on it. MLB Cheerleaders. Did you even know they existed?
No, I think I might have seen it at some point. Looks a little familiar, but I forgot.
I didn't know that they existed. Apparently, after doing some research, the Angels in the 90s brought in cheerleaders. It had to do with this kind of Disney theme, and certain teams have had them. I can't say I've ever seen them because they're not out during the game because they're just going to be sitting ducks. Because what they do is they run around on top of the dugouts. I guess, in between innings and throw things to the fans and try to get the fans excited.
Okay.
What do you even think about this?
I do think I remember seeing that now. Cheerleaders on the Astros dugout, but I definitely forgot.
Because again, certain teams have them. Apparently, the Astros have had these for almost 10 years.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that.
But what do you think about in baseball? You expect it in football, of course. You have them in the NBA. Baseball?
Very strange. Not baseball in my mind. But I suppose it could work for an indoor team like this and a team that doesn't have a long traditional history. But yeah, the actual design, not too bad actually. The title, the size of the titles, the belt, the stripes on the side, not a bad design actually. Better than some NFL cheerleader uniforms, I would say.
Yeah, actually, I stepped back and I said, you know what? These do actually look better than, I mean, it's entirely different, but I'm just saying from a design standpoint, they actually look better than what the Astros players wear.
Yeah.
The way things are laid out. But getting back to this thing in baseball, I don't like it in baseball. Again, baseball is a traditional sport. They have their traditions, and this is one of them that it just doesn't seem to fit in baseball, and it's the whole thing about trying to make baseball more like the other sports, which I've never seen to be necessary, and I like baseball the way it is.
Yeah.
And I guess if you don't see them, you don't see them, but I don't like it in baseball. The design's good. I mean, they look good, but I just don't care for it in baseball.
Yeah, I agree overall.
I
Better
do
not to have them.
I do have a criticism about it though, and that is the boots. The boots. I do not like the boots, and I'm just comparing it to football. It's the same state, the Cowboys, because it's sort of that like baggy look. Sort of that baggy look you get with the boots that I don't think particularly works. Otherwise, it's okay, and they tend to be more conservative with the way they dress in baseball. From what I see, it's not like the NFL. It's not like the NBA because they are very close to the fans, and you tend to have a younger audience. At least that's what they're going for. So they're covered up more than what you would have in the other sports, and especially in the NFL. But I personally would say just keep them in the other sports and they can stay out of baseball. But what do you think about the boots?
Ripples, the bagginess does not look as sleek, and the lack of the heel too is a little strange too. I'm used to seeing a heel more in boots, but
right. That's what you see there, and I don't think we're going to be doing a cheerleaders episode. I don't think so, but shoes for cheerleaders have been going in the wrong direction in the NFL because, well, a lot of teams are abandoning the boots and they're going to the shoes. I definitely prefer the boots over shoes, or those like half boot things that some of the teams wear. They also go with the same style that they don't do. Well, certain teams don't go with the bare leg look. They wear the tights, they wear the pantyhose with their cheerleaders. So they're trying to copy the NFL. But again, I'd rather not have them in baseball.
yeah.
But that leads us into one area in the NFL. It was the preseason, because we're going to have more than enough to talk about in the NFL regular season. This was the worst thing we saw in the preseason.
Numbers have gotten ridiculous, as we pointed out a lot in our recent episodes in the NFL, but quarterbacks should not be allowed to have 50, even if apparently there's no rules now in preseason. Anybody can wear any number from what I read, but still, our home team is the 49ers. What did they do? They just give the same number to multiple players rather than having the wrong type of number on the wrong position of player.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that when it's preseason.
If you want to give out 3 number 4s, that's fine with me.
But 50 on a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're dealing with a quarterback, that's the one position you cannot mess with. That's the one. How should I put this? It's the one position that should stay intact, that should never be tampered with.
The sacred number.
It's sacred. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for when it comes to NFL numbers. The quarterback is sacred. I feel that way almost a little bit with the kickers and the punters, but the one position's quarterback.
Yeah, and this year we've got the kickers and punters wearing anything between 20 and 49, I believe it was, and 90 and 99, in addition to 1 through 19. That's bad enough, but yes, even if Teddy Bridgewater was wearing 0, I would have been okay with that.
I don't even care if he'd be a 5th string quarterback. You can't do this. You can't do this if it's the 4th, the 5th, the practice squad quarterback, putting them out there in an actual preseason game wearing 50.
Yeah. And the Lions, I guess they're just looser. They wanted to have more fun or whatever this year because they have kickers 36 now, and they let Teddy Bridgewater have 50 in preseason. And they decided to debut in opening week versus the Chiefs wearing white tights all the way down. So I guess they're just really open to different uniform approaches this year, but
yeah, a couple things there. You said it, and we're going to get to it. The Lions and their numbers when it comes to kickers. And the Lions love for their skin-tight pants, which I can hardly even call pants anymore. We're in for a long season.
Yeah.
In the NFL. Are you ready for a long season with uniforms?
I don't know if I'm prepared to start seeing some of the combinations of numbers and uniforms that have been hinted at.
The good news is we have the good turnbacks that we've already started to see. There's going to be a lot of good ones. I think from the uniform standpoint, that's going to get us through this NFL season.